Welcome! I am Emir, and let's look back in hindsight. I am not looking so hot right now, and it's not just my hair. I pray that you never see what I've become. But, life goes on, and I'll continue to make these videos. I won't let anything bring me down. We live in very challenging times. I wish I could go further, but I do not want to anger the YouTube gods. So I'll just call it the C word. But I have two things to say. One, I'm still glad I can work. I've been doing all my videos from the comfort of my home. But working from home is a privilege. Yes, a privilege of only the few. What is the point? Empathy. Let's do what we can to help those who cannot work and thus cannot earn a living for their families. 2. Troubles and crises inspire creativity. Adversity breeds ingenuity. There's the obvious, like charity songs and political commentary. But there's also art that shows how a tragedy affects ordinary people without any clear advocacy dimension. Today, I'll be talking about an example of that. We're going back to the early 1980s and the N-word, which I can say without angering the powers that be. Nuclear. What else did you think I would say? I briefly talked about the prevailing zeitgeist at that time on my introductory video to Lime Street. Rather than repeat myself, you can watch it first by clicking the link above or below. Don't worry, I'll wait. Are you back? Are you there? Okay. I'm gonna assume you are here. Let's move on. But there's another reason I want to talk about the song that I will be talking about today. Poor word choices. Redundant, I know. I always thought that this band is a one-hit wonder, known for only one hit song and nothing else. But then I saw this comment on YouTube, which I cannot find anymore. I found a lot of these though, copypastas. Anyway, that comment said that this song I'll be talking about wasn't even a hit, but was overplayed on MTV. So, people remember it. Then I found this comment on the Behind the Vinyl video. I want to find out, was this song really a hit? Was this band really a one-hit wonder? Or a no-hit wonder? And since I'll be researching that, I might as well do some digging on the band and share what I find with you. So, let's go dive right into I Melt With You by Modern English. This video will be a mix of Todd in the Shadow's One Hit Wonderland and Shoegazer Productions' Adventures in Vinylland. I will be sharing the band's history up to the present, but I will only review the album where the quote-unquote hit came from. Of course, including the hit. Let's start with the band. Please allow me to read because I'm not really feeling well. And to be accurate, according to Wikipedia, Modern English, open parenthesis, sometimes New English or NE, open parenthesis, ME, close parenthesis, as opposed to Middle English and Old English, is the form of the English language spoken since the Great Vowel Shift in England, which began in the late 14th century and was completed in roughly 1550. Something's not right about that. Oh wait, wrong Modern English. Sorry about that. According to the band's official website, Modern English is an English rock band formed in England, specifically in Colchester, Essex, England. Well, obviously, No twists here. Originally known as the Lepers, the band's initial members were Robbie Gray on vocals, Gary McDowell, guitar and vocals, and Michael Conroy, bass and vocals. The name, quote-unquote, Modern English, came with the entry of Richard Brown, drums, and Stephen Walker, keyboards. Walker wrote, and I quote, "Wow, that rhymed." I believe it was Richard, our drummer, who came up with the name. It was from a George Orwell book. It seemed very apt for the time, for 5 young, show adolescents who dreamed of living a dull and humdrum life for the bright lights, etc. End quote. Modern English released its first album, Mesh and Lace, under the 4AD label in 1981. It's been described as having a strong Joy Division influence. I listened to it, yeah, sounds like Joy Division, which isn't surprising because both bands are, or at least started as post-punk bands. Mesh and Lace is not as depressing though, but I'm not going to say it's bad. It's just not my cup of tea. Hey, at least I can leave it playing in the background while I work. Unlike boring, droning, slow music. Another thing about Mesh and Lace. Modern English in this album is, are, was, were not poets. The lyrics are random, seemingly not making sense. Mesh and Lace was also self-produced. That would all change with their second album, also released under the 4AD label. Walker wrote, and I quote again, "Released in 1982, After the Snow received mixed reviews and initially sold poorly. In fact, it never really sold well in the UK. We did get a little dispirited. However, in America, things started to take off. A new management team, Side 1, East and West, and great support from radio, particularly WLIR and KROC, and college stations all over." End quote. The album was produced by Hugh Jones, who Walker called, quote-unquote, godlike genius. In my humble opinion, one of the finest there is. Walker continued, "To say we gelled would be an understatement. It was magical. Previous recordings were rehearsed until we could record in 1 or 2 takes, then add extra parts and overdubs. Hugh stripped us right down and rebuilt from the drums up. All the instruments were layered and fantastically textured. The band had never sounded so good." End quote. Lead vocalist Robbie Gray would credit Jones for pushing the band to do 2 things, humming and songwriting, verse, chorus. 2 things that would appear in the quote-unquote hit. Let's talk about that now, shall we? Gray said that he wrote the lyrics to "I Melt With You" in literally only 3 minutes. Or was it 2? Gray said that the early 1980s recession and the fears of nuclear war inspired him to write this song. He said that the song is about, and I quote, "the good and bad in people, open bracket, ... close bracket. The last thing we wanted was to write a song where boy meets girl, they go to the cinema and make love, and that's the end of it." End quote. I want to read the full quote, but I cannot afford to buy the book. I can't afford anything. I'm not making any money from these videos yet. Maybe never will. Gray said that the music video, one of the biggest in 1982 on quote-unquote music television, was shot only for 1,000 Canadian pounds. Quote-unquote nothing. That's not nothing compared to what I'm getting. And yes, he said pounds. Even if the currency of Canada has been called the Canadian dollar since 1858. There's your history lesson for today, kids. Gray said that they carried the equipment and set it up themselves. Walker wrote, and again I quote, "Nice. I Melt With You was the standout single choice. We made our first video, which received heavy rotation from the newly established MTV. Things started to look a whole lot better." End quote. And yet, even with the music video, the MTV, and the song appearing in a movie called Valley Girl, starring Nicolas Cage? Before he became an over-the-top meme lord, I guess. Hey, he has to start somewhere. But, Cage is frustrated with all the memes. He's no Rick Astley. Okay, back to I Melt With You. Surprisingly, this song never hit the top 40. It peaked at number 7 on the US Billboard Mainstream Rock Chart and number 78 on the main Billboard Hot 100. I Melt With You / Life in the Glad House peaked at number 60 on the Billboard Dance Club Songs Chart on March 12, 1983. It spent a total of 6 weeks on that chart. So, not a hit, huh? Then again, there's no source for such definition. Citation needed. Maybe I can just cite Todd in the Shadows. What did he say in his One Hit Wonderland video on Oh Yeah by Yellow? I quote, "It never quite cleared the bottom half of the Hot 100. So technically, it wasn't a hit song." End quote. Okay, so based on Todd's definition, I Melt With You wasn't a hit. Yet, the lead vocalist grew to resent it. In a 1997 interview, Gray said, and I quote, "It's great to watch people enjoying your music. But most people know modern English from Melt With You. And the reason we're on the road is we've got a whole new bunch of songs and the new stuff's excellent. It's great to put a half dozen new songs in the set because you can balance it with the Melt With You thing, which we've played 1,000 times before." Gray even thought of changing the band's name. And again, I quote, "It's a hard question because I'd really like to do the whole thing again and get to the top of the tree with the name Modern English. On the other hand, you do get labeled as the I Melt With You band. But I think that when the next album comes out, it's going to be so strong that it will be relevant. ... I don't think it's long before we'll be considered a 90s band, really, rather than just an 80s band, which is a pain." End quote. I don't think being considered an 80s band is too bad though. We still haven't moved on from 80s nostalgia after all. Meanwhile, a 90s revival? I'm pretty sure we're jumping to the 2000s already. Of course, as time has passed, the band has become kind to their not hit, or at least tolerant. An article from 2016 reads, and you know what I'm going to say. Modern English vocalist Robbie Gray realizes that he would be quote-unquote lynched if his band didn't perform I Melt With You. And, quote, in a retrospective from 2017, Patrick Rapa wrote, and, well, you know the drill. It's not the most twisted iteration of I Love You in rock history, skipping a few lines, but it says something nuanced and beautiful about human connection. Helps that it was catchy, with a big synth riff behind it. Looking over the lyrics with modern eyes, I realized this song belongs alongside Silent Running and 1999 in my favorite 80s subgenre, vaguely apocalyptic pop. These songs were sometimes upbeat, but laced with desperation. The Cold War and War Games and Halley's Comet? Or is it Halley's? I don't know. Had people worried about fiery death from above and invaders on our shores. We imagined losing contact with loved ones as we disappeared into shelters and hoarded Jello pudding pops and fruit roll-ups. We'd forgotten what Lincoln said, that only America can destroy America. Modern English though English, sums up that existential discomfort nicely in I Melt With You, with lyrics about the losing breath and the world crashing. The last line is the most powerful. I made a pilgrimage to save this human race. Gray sings, then pauses, before delivering the crushing blow, never comprehending the race was long, long lost. End quote. Oops, got that last line wrong, never comprehending the race that long gone by. Meanwhile, Alfie Vera Melia describes I Melt With You as, and I quote, there I go again, huh? The song that launched modern English to the endearment of the new wave human race. The track that fully realized the then fledgling band's transformation from darkness to light, gloom to days, and bright summer rays after the frigid winter snow. The brooding lyrical theme laid beautifully on a mesh and lace of instrumentation that was upbeat, intricate, melodic, catchy, danceable, and engaging, all at the same time. Insert my usual line here.